Buffalo's Fox 29 News at 10 starts now.
Good evening. In 1969, Norma McCorvey was 21 years old and pregnant with a third child she did not want. She was living in the state of Texas, where abortion was illegal, so she challenged the law in court. Her attorneys gave her the pseudonym Jane Roe and fought the case all the way to the Supreme Court. In 1973, the High Court ruled 7-2 that the Texas law was in violation of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. Abortion became a federally protected constitutional right. In the nearly 50 years that followed, intense efforts were made by those against abortion to overturn the landmark ruling. Today, those efforts were realized. The Supreme Court issuing a new ruling that effectively overturns Roe v. Wade, opens the door for states to ban abortion, and raises questions about the future of other rights. Norma McCorvey ended up delivering that third child and giving it up for adoption. And she changed her views on abortion altogether, becoming an anti-abortion activist before her death in 2017. Tonight, there is shock and joy, devastation and relief, and both excitement and fear over what comes next. To the Fox Box right now, we'll take a closer look at the Supreme Court's ruling and break down what it means moving forward. Also, hundreds of Buffalo neighbors taking to the streets to celebrate and to protest. We'll hear from them tonight. And the abortion debate has long been a violent one in America, one that led to the murder of a Buffalo OB/GYN. The organization created in his name is talking about moving forward. That's at 10:30. And later on, the Fox First forecast.
It's a realization of an extreme ideology and a tragic error by the Supreme Court, in my view. The court has done what it has never done before, expressly take away a constitutional right that is so fundamental to so many Americans that had already been recognized.
For many, this was a worst-case scenario, and others say it's something they've been fighting decades to make happen. The Supreme Court, in a vote that 6-3, rules that the right to an abortion cannot be protected under the Constitution. Atra El-Nashar has a look at the legal implications tonight.
A majority of the Supreme Court ending half a century of precedent under Roe v. Wade. In their opinion, Justices Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett rule the Constitution makes no express reference to a right to obtain an abortion.
They argued that the right to an abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions, and therefore it's not a constitutional right.
A criteria law professor Paul Collins at University of Massachusetts Amherst says has no precise definition. Chief Justice Roberts writes a concurring opinion he agrees with upholding Mississippi's 15-week abortion ban, but would not have overturned Roe. The majority opinion says other rights, like right to privacy, contraception, same-sex marriage, are not directly affected by the court's opinion. Justice Clarence Thomas, in his concurring opinion, says they should all be reconsidered.
I think it's safe to say that those rights are under threat, despite the language in the majority opinion.
Justice Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan signing on to the dissenting opinion, one Collins describes as scathing.
Ultimately, they conclude that this is really a raw exercise of political power by a conservative court that is going to take away women's reproductive autonomy, making them less than full citizens.
As access to abortion is now left in the purview of states, a lot of women and girls are wondering what it means for them. Sky, you're from Virginia. Do you worry about losing access to reproductive care?
Of course, all the time.
Others celebrating.
We're overwhelmed with happiness. We're so excited for it to go down to the states.
Now that Roe is overturned, abortion bans in 13 states with trigger laws immediately going into effect. Another 13 are expected to follow. But enforcing those laws likely won't look the same everywhere and may even be difficult. More than half the country entering a new normal, one that existed before Roe v. Wade. At the Supreme Court, I'm Atra El-Nashar reporting.
And tonight, protests continue in the wake of the Roe v. Wade decision. You're looking live now just outside the Supreme Court. Hundreds gathering both in protest and in support of what the justices revealed today. Massive protests took place all over the country. You're looking at Boston, New York City, and Detroit right there. A vast majority of those taking to the streets are denouncing what the Supreme Court did. It was much the same in Buffalo, where hundreds came to speak their mind as the ruling became so public late today. Fox Buffalo's Olivia Dance is live with us tonight. Olivia.
Well, Michael, earlier tonight, hundreds of people gathered here in Niagara Square to protest the Supreme Court decision. It was a powerful and emotional night. The protest began in Niagara Square as hundreds of people gathered to disapprove of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade. It was an emotional night as several women shared personal stories of why they have had an abortion. The protesters then marched throughout downtown Buffalo, chanting things like abortion rights are human rights and my body, my choice. Now, here in New York, the right to have an abortion will not be taken away, but many people we spoke to say they are marching for the millions of women across the country that will be impacted by the court's decision.
I don't want to be one of the privileged few here in New York State, and I don't want that to be the case. I want my nieces and nephews, my great nieces and nephews, I want everyone to be able to access health care. And this is health care, and it's a very private, sometimes quite difficult decision.
I'm here for every woman, every person with a uterus, everywhere. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what you look like. Right. This is for everybody.
And many people we spoke to today fear that today's decision is just the beginning and rights like birth control and same-sex marriage will be taken next. Reporting live in downtown Buffalo, I'm Olivia Dance.
We will explore that. Olivia, thank you. The Supreme Court's decision is unpopular. New polling from Quinnipiac University shows registered voters agree with Roe v. Wade by nearly a 2-to-1 margin. Voters agree 61 to 33% with that 1973 decision. 29% say abortion should be legal in all cases. 31% say it should be in most cases. 34% say it should be illegal in most cases. 10% say it should be against the law, no matter what. Here are the states with trigger bans in place where the procedure will be illegal within the next month: Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Kentucky. States that are likely to ban abortion within weeks or months include Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. New York will not be one of those states. The state attorney general telling New Yorkers today, make no mistake, while other states strip away the fundamental right to choose, New York will always be a safe haven for anyone seeking an abortion. Connor White joins us now from Syracuse with new information on what the ruling by the Supreme Court means here.
The Supreme Court's decision leaves the legal question on abortion with individual states. 13 states across the country expected to ban abortion with so-called trigger laws within the next 30 days. New York's laws designed to protect legal access to abortion for New Yorkers while preparing for people to come in from out of state for those same services. Friday, a Syracuse police car sitting outside a Planned Parenthood, a deterrent against possible protests, according to a police spokesperson, following the 6-3 decision to end federally protected abortion access.
I think it makes women and people who can get pregnant less of a citizen. Like if we can, like there's nothing like this for men. There's not, the state can't take control of your body for 40 weeks. And force you to do something.
Michelle Casey, CEO of the Planned Parenthood of Central and Western New York, says they've tried to hire more staff anticipating the court's decision.
We're going to see an influx of patients that are traveling from other states who need care.
New Yorkers will continue to have access to safe, legal abortions with Roe v. Wade codified into state law in 2019.
We're fighting back. We're protecting our providers.
Governor Kathy Hochul recently committing $35 million to abortion providers, and this month signing 6 bills into law in anticipation of the Supreme Court's decision Friday. Some of those laws designed to prevent abortion providers from facing legal repercussions in other states and to ensure that abortion is covered by health insurance.
I think that the state of New York would also exercise its authority, to not comply with requests, say extradition requests.
SU law professor Paula Johnson says people will legally be able to come to New York for an abortion if the service is illegal in their home state. Long Island Republican State Senator Phil Boyle introducing legislation to ban the use of taxpayer dollars to fund abortions for those coming from out of state. Governor Hochul continuing to push forward to ensure abortion access for all within New York borders.
Statue of Liberty is in our harbor, and she'll always be there with that torch to say, when your rights are oppressed, you know where to come. You come to New York.
Democratic state lawmakers now looking to codify Roe v. Wade into the state's constitution on the basis of prohibiting discrimination on pregnancy and pregnancy outcomes. In 2019, according to the CDC, 9% of abortions performed in New York State were from folks coming in from out of state for that service. That's up from 5% in 2015. I'm Connor White reporting.
The Catholic bishops of New York State say they give thanks to God for today's decision by the Supreme Court. It will save countless innocent children simply waiting to be born, the bishop said in a statement today. That statement did acknowledge it's a judicial victory and not a cultural one as the country is divided. The bishops say the culture remains deeply divided on the issue, which will be evidenced by the patchwork of state statutes pertaining to abortion across the country. To change the culture and build a culture of life, we need to enact family-friendly policies that welcome children, support mothers, cherish families, and empower them to thrive. We have continuing coverage on the Supreme Court decision in just a few moments, but now we'll take a break and get the Fox First Forecast with meteorologist Scott Hetzko.
All right, Michael, good evening to you and to everybody watching tonight. Boy, what a great day today. And tonight, it's going to be flawless through the overnight and tomorrow morning. Whatever you're doing Saturday, great weather for it. We'll be near 80 at 11 o'clock. But down the road, here's what you got to know about. It's turning stormy on Sunday during the midday and afternoon. We'll keep an eye on those storms. And then that front brings cooler air. Monday, temperatures back in the 60s for one day. And sadly, we could use a lot more rain, not a lot in the forecast. See that 7-day coming up in just a little bit.
Thank you, Scott. Still ahead tonight, what's next? The ruling on Roe v. Wade painting a grim future for some.